Hey guys, it's Kuma. Today I'm bringing you all a video on a solo run I did using the Guardian class. I didn't start playing this character until after I beat the game and I really enjoyed his gameplay. In today's video I'll be going over the relics I use as well as showing you a basic guide on how to use his kit. Afterwards I'll show you the entire run with some commentary. It wasn't the perfect run as I only managed to hit level 10 by the time I reached the boss. I also got unlucky with the map where the 3 Flask churches were on separate corners of the map. But this is what roguelikes are like. You won't always have the best RNG, but you have to make the most out of the hand you're dealt. Timestamps will be down below if you guys just want to skip ahead to specific parts. Now before I start the video, I want to take time to thank you guys for your support and comments. I started YouTube back in late February of 2025 and I've gotten nothing but great feedback from you all. I'm glad you all helped me discover a new passion for making guides and videos, and your support is what has kept me going through all of this, and I hope to keep bringing you all quality content. If you enjoy the video, please consider subscribing. With that out of the way, enjoy the video guys. So starting off with relics, I'm using the Giant's Cradle Grail, which has 3 blue slots. The first relic I have equipped is probably the most important for solo play because it allows me to reflect damage when I block. Plus we get an additional +2 vigor and +2 endurance. The second relic creates Whirlwind when charging halberd attacks. I use this to help me with AoE for groups that are surrounding me. The Faith and Arcane stats here don't do much for me and I haven't rolled a better relic yet that still gives me the Whirlwind. The third relic gives me improved guard counters, which we will be using a lot with this build. The Dexterity +2 is okay but not important. The ultimate Art Gauge +2 I believe charges our ultimate much faster. Unfortunately I don't have a +3 yet, so we'll just have to settle for this. Our ult has a pretty cool mechanic that I'll get into shortly. Next, let me talk to you guys about Guardian's kit. To be honest, I thought this character was trash when I first tried him on day 1, but that was my mistake for not knowing about the stance that he goes into, which heavily reduces stamina damage. I didn't discover this until I decided to use him to beat the last boss of the game. So normally, when you hold your block and get hit, you will take some stamina damage, and different enemies will do different amounts of stamina damage to you. So on day 1, any big enemies would normally stagger me and break me out of my guard, and that's why I thought Guardian wasn't anything special. Then when I went into the sparring grounds, I saw that he has something called Steel Guard. When you hold block and dash in any direction, you go into Steel Guard. You will begin to drain stamina over time in this stance, however you significantly reduce the amount of stamina damage you take from attacks, allowing you to guard through some of the most brutal combos in the game. Now this doesn't work if you're standing still and just do a regular backdash. You actually have to press a movement direction and then dash in order to get into the stance. If you are locked into an enemy, you can hold your backwards movement direction and dash back to get into the stance. Note that your initial dash into this stance will drain a good bit of stamina, so I've learned that the best way to use this stance is to think of it like a parry. Hold block, and right before you get hit by an attack, dash into the attack or dash in any direction to use that initial bit of stamina. Then hold the stance until you know the attack or attack chain is over. When you have a moment to breathe, let go of the guard and immediately start regaining your stamina and be ready to block the next set of attacks you have to guard. Because of the first relic I have, as long as you are close to an enemy, you will reflect damage back to the enemy. Another neat trick with this reflection is that it can also be used to revive allies. I don't have any footage here, but during the last boss fight it was just me and a raider because our third disconnected. Raider went down and I blocked a really long combo of the boss while next to the raider, and the reflect damage was able to help me get raider back up and into the fight. This reflect also builds up stagger, so after reflecting a few times, your next attack might even stagger enemies and bosses. The reflect itself can even stagger on its own, allowing you to get in a crit. Now let's talk about Whirlwind. I use this to clear groups of trash mobs, and there are even some stronger enemies that can still be knocked down with this skill. Tapping the skill will shoot a gust of wind around your character that knocks down enemies around you, but you can also hold it to make the range even bigger at the cost of a slightly longer windup time. I use this a lot during my run. Now for the ultimate skill, Wings of Salvation, the skill does have a pretty long cooldown, so I tend to save it for emergency situations like reviving my allies after they've gone down the max number of times, and swinging my slow weapon would take too long to revive them. Now you can also hold the skill down to shield nearby allies from damage. I'm not sure how long you can hold it for, as I haven't tried using the held version as much. Now during your runs, you want to be looking for shields with more guard so that you can take less stamina damage. Try and get upgrades to your stamina and stamina regen, as your steel guard skill is what you'll need most to survive. I mainly go for halberds or spears, but in this run I ended up sticking with a greatsword. Now the guide is done and we can get into the run. Enjoy, guys. Alright guys, the run starts and I'm going to be giving you guys my process on how I go about a majority of my runs. So here you can see I'm analyzing the map, trying to figure out the path I'm going to take. First step is to clear the camp that you land at. You will always be dropped off at a small camp like this. Just clear the enemies here and loot up, and you should be level 2. No, you're guaranteed level 2 if you do clear this. So I know I should be rushing the other areas, but as a solo, I feel like the priority is to try to find a better weapon, because the starting gear that you have isn't really the best. So here you can see me looting chests, finishing off every enemy, and trying to hope that I get something good to start with. Unfortunately, there was nothing for me at this camp, so I opened the map to look for the site of grace. I go level up once, and then I head into this next area. Because I didn't find a good starting weapon, I decided to just two-hand this weapon, and I also use a mix of guard counters to clear the enemies. With this upcoming group I see ahead of me, I go close to them and use my Whirlwind skill so I can AoE and knock them all down. I two-hand my weapon and use an AoE sweep attack with the heavy, and then just finish the last guy off. Here you can see I try to loot as much as possible before the boss in order to gain some passives that'll really make my early game a lot easier. Even though this guy is a boss, he can also be affected by Whirlwind, as you can see here. Unfortunately, we don't get any rewards that are useful to us, so I decided to just move on. And you didn't see me use the blue item I picked up earlier because I had to be level 3 to use it. So after clearing the Great Church, I open my map and make my way towards this fort. I'm not extremely strong yet, so I have to take advantage of these weaker enemies, and I try to clear as much as possible in order to try to get some good drops so I can get myself stronger. Luckily, I loot this chest and I find a great sword, so I end up replacing my starter weapon here. It also has a passive that restores my health upon attacks, which is really good for our sustain. I hear the audio cue, which signals that the ring is about to start closing, and I realize I have to speed up my run a little. So unfortunately, my audio began to become really staticky during this part, and I have no idea why. This sometimes happens even on Discord when I stream to my friends. The audio suddenly becomes static for the people that are watching me. I haven't been able to find a fix for this yet, and this happens too when I record sometimes. If you have any idea what this could be, or if there's any fix you have, please let me know in the comments below, guys. The audio does get fixed. I think at the 13-minute mark, somewhere around there. I'll leave a timestamp down below. But anyways, I continue to loot the castle, and since I know the ring is closing, I decide to go for some scarabs because I know I need to gear up and try to make myself stronger. Luckily, I get another stone sword key, so now I have two, and those everjails can be really good for souls, which will help me level up in this run. So here I try to listen in for that scarab. The map says that it's around here. I also use Whirlwind to clear out these mobs for a little bit of XP or more souls so I can buy levels and stuff. Unfortunately, the fire is closing in, and I don't hear the scarab until afterwards. I think like right about now. We end up getting this really good talisman that gives us more resistances. This boss does do fire damage, so that talisman definitely will help us. We next get a talisman that gives us thrusting counterattack, which we're not really thrusting at all with this weapon. So we just picked it up just to have it. Here I use Whirlwind again to clear out some enemies and try to get more souls. And we have audio back here. So anyways, I know that the ring is pretty close and I have time to loot without taking too much damage. I still have all my heals and there is a grace nearby, so I can just heal back up and continue on my run. Unfortunately, we don't get a good talisman off of the Scarab. And also, you guys see how bad I am with the GreatSword. But yeah, I never claimed to be pro at this game. So this is something I can relate to you guys with because I know there's a lot of you that are just as bad as I am. So here we get a blue greatsword, and it has a pretty nice passive for us that as long as we continue guarding, or as long as we get successful guards, our damage negation goes up, so we'll take less damage. Here I decide to ping the church for myself because I realize I still just have 3 flasks. So I decide to go for the church, but I also decide to start this ruins slightly early. I don't finish it because the ring starts to close, and I couldn't find all the bosses in time, the ancient heroes of Zamor, I think that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, I couldn't find all 3 of them, and the ring started to close, and I just had to book it for the other flask. Unfortunately, I ran out of time, so I decided to start heading towards the church so I could get my first additional flask. I do end up coming back to these ruins later on in my run, just to finish off the last hero of Zamor that I was missing. And, you know, for the XP, the souls, and a possible upgrade. I tabbed out here just to check a message on Discord, so I edit that part out. I make sure to spend what little time I have left to clear as many enemies as possible, just to get a little bit more souls for a possible level up. I notice which bosses are the ones for this camp, and I think those are way too difficult for me to handle at level 5, so I decide to just press on and move to the first boss fight. Unfortunately, I got a double boss fight, the Demi-Human Queen and the Demi-Human Swordmaster. I decided to go for the Swordmaster first because his attacks are pretty annoying, especially if he catches you off guard. Lucky for me, the Human Queen is just standing there watching us fight and doesn't really get involved during this fight. I'm able to successfully finish the Human Swordmaster fairly quickly. And yeah, the Demi-Human Queen does give me a bit of trouble, but luckily I end up winning. It's at this point where I notice there's a big group of enemies on their way here, and I don't want them to get in the way of our fight, so I prioritize getting rid of them first before continuing with the boss. So I use my Wings of Salvation for a big AoE, and then I finish off any remaining enemies. This was a pretty close call here because my camera is focused on this little enemy and the Demi-Human Queen gets a hit off on me, but luckily I was able to steel guard that attack that would have killed me otherwise. This was another close call right here because I do end up getting the stagger, but I don't make it in time for the crit, and the enemy gets back up and almost finishes me off. Here I have 0 flasks left, no items to use for consumables that'll help me, but luckily I do end up getting another stagger by using guard counters. And then I do manage to get the crit off, and we use the reflect damage from the shield to finish off the Demi-Human Queen. So here I got one of the walking buffs because when you do go into Steel Guard, you are moving way slower, and I believe it counts as walking speed. So those walking abilities or passives do tend to activate more often for me when I'm using Steel Guard. It's at this point where I realize I'm not an expert at the game whatsoever, and I believe that flasks are crucial to my survival. So I end up spending most of this day going around to get flasks and also upgrade my weapon. So I make my way to the Spectral Hawk tree and make my way to the first church, then use another tree to go to the next church, and finally I use a third tree to come back to finish the ruins of those ruins that I didn't finish earlier. After killing this boss, we end up getting physical damage negation, which is pretty nice for us. And luckily we're right next to a mine, and since I have a blue sword, I know that the boss in there drops a smithing stone. Yeah, a smithing stone that will upgrade my weapon from blue to purple. Luckily, we got the easy boss in the mine. This one's usually pretty quick to kill. It's either this guy, the giant, or I believe I forgot his name, the big bell head guy, pumpkin head. You guys know him from Elden Ring. He has a giant golden bell on his head. As I make my way out of the mines, I notice that there is a roaming boss out here, and it's a pretty easy one. I'm level 8 and I do feel like I can take it, so I decide to fight it, even though I know the ring is closing. It's closing nearby, and I know that I can probably drag this boss a little bit outside of the ring once it's fully closed, and I should still be safe to fight it. Nope, we're out of here. I decide to try my luck at the castle. I usually start all the way at the bottom and make my way up to the top. Nope, Luckily, we find a blacksmith under this bridge. Sorry, a merchant. And next to a merchant, there's a smith where you can upgrade your weapon from blue to purple, or regular weapons from white to blue, so long as you have the smithing stones. Luckily, it's just one of these guardian golems, and once you knock them down, you just go up to their chest and use a crit, and you do massive damage to their health bar. So from here, I don't get a good reward. I restock on my flasks, and I start making my way towards the last circle. I do try to go for this encampment here, but unfortunately I'm not fast enough, and the ring actually ends up catching up here. So I decide to just book it and leave to the final ring because I don't want to get low on flasks here because I don't know what enemies I'll get at that final ring. Lucky for me, we don't get anything too difficult. It's just two of these guys, which with my character, I should be able to stagger them easily. They do hurt, but I wasn't too worried, especially since the other one was just watching and standing back. They didn't interrupt me while I was fighting the other. I really wish you guys could have seen the fear in my eyes when I read that the Fell Omen was the boss of this run. Oh my god, I was so nervous here, guys, because I'm only level 9. And because he threw those knives from a far distance, my reflect damage didn't reach him. So I had to get close to him in order to try to do as much damage as I could with the reflect. And he's actually pretty relentless with his attacks. So I do end up getting my guard broken quite a bit in this fight. With no stamina left here, I decide to use my ultimate just so I could be immune to damage while I channel it. And that gives me some time to heal and also regain my stamina. Unfortunately, this run we did not find a better shield to use that had a lot more guard. Um, I believe that having a little bit more of a guard boost would have definitely helped me survive more of his combos here. At this point, we're out of flasks, and now I can just hopefully use my consumables to help me heal. And luckily, with all the counters that we got, our final guard counter ends up staggering him, and I managed to finish him off with a crit. And with that, we're now ready to level up, buy some consumables. I could have leveled up twice, but I decided to save my runes for some items, which do end up helping me in the fight. I also quickly level up my shield from white to blue, which does give me a little bit more guard boost. So here I make a mistake and do get hit by that fire, which definitely chunks me, and unfortunately I have to use a flask. Now for when he split off into three, the best advice I could give is to try to position yourself to where you can keep eyes on all three of them on your screen at once. Or maybe don't target onto all of them so you can move your camera around and see what's going on. Luckily, they all seem to just watch for the most part when you're already fighting one. So just play patiently here. That's what I decided to do while I waited for them to merge back into one. So what I said earlier about them leaving me alone when I was fighting one didn't turn out to be true in this case. They were all attacking me, so again I used my Wings of Salvation to try to get some breathing room and heal up. And I just waited for them to merge back together. And with that last guard counter, we get the crit, and we finish off the last boss. And yeah, not the best run, guys, but yeah, solo run with the Guardian. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I had a blast recording it. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, guys, please subscribe. I really do appreciate it. Or leave the video a like. Anything helps, guys. Comment down below your thoughts. Give me more suggestions on content you guys would like to see. I want to keep making videos for you guys. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. Take care.